Vehicle is pitching downrange.
The Starship seems to have won the most hearts, ousting Boeing's Starliner from the space race. Incredibly, this isn't the only race that the Starship is winning. We're talking about the race to Mars. Let's do a bit of science fiction here. For centuries, mankind has dreamed of starting over in a solar system, a new universe on a new world. And while we know of many exoplanets and lookalikes of Earth like Kepler 452b, Gliese 667cc, and Proxima Centauri b, we've never even sent a human to any of them. Here's where things go crazy. Elon Musk plans to do this and even much more. SpaceX's glorious Goliath, the Starship, might have its future already set as the company's owner, Elon, has drawn out a decade-long course for the ship. It would shock you that Mars isn't even the destination. But what great plans does Elon Musk have for the Starship? Don't worry, I've got it all covered in this video. You definitely don't want to miss a second of it. Meanwhile, welcome to the Space Minds channel. While aerospace giants like Boeing, Blue Origin and Sierra Space are still trying to build spacecraft that could safely land on the moon, SpaceX is already ahead with plans for the Starship's exploration of extraterrestrial planets. Elon Musk, on X, formerly known as Twitter, explained that if Starliner makes a soft non-explosive landing on the red planet Mars by 2026, then we might be looking at a Mars colonization in less than a decade. Let's break this down a bit. First of all, why is landing on Mars a seemingly huge achievement for SpaceX? One of Elon Musk's dreams, and probably the number one thing he advocates, is to make mankind what he calls a multi-planetary species. In other words, Elon aims to make man a being of multiple planets. Just imagine being able not just to travel between states or countries or continents, you could also travel between planets. It won't be long before we will make interplanetary calls. You might just be able to call your cousin who lives on Mars. This would go a long way in revolutionizing man, marking the first time man would colonize a planet. Okay, we all agree, it's a really interesting dream. That isn't the only good thing a successful Mars mission will offer. Mars's atmosphere alone could greatly improve man's already loaded scientific knowledge. We're talking about climate exploration, the beautiful discovery of other life forms, and the thrill in discovering other elements and substances. This would leave us great knowledge, helping us know much more about the universe and even going further to provide us with resources we never had on Earth or resources that are already depleting here. Now, back to Elon's plans. SpaceX plans on a successful launch of the Starship on a course to Mars by 2026. The mission would be uncrewed and aimed at ensuring that astronauts and scientists can safely land on Mars first. Then, if a successful landing can be ensured after multiple Starship flights, Musk plans on sending a crewed Starship to the Red Planet 2 years after, by 2028. These astronauts, the first to land on Mars, would access its atmosphere, topography, water availability, and all other vital information on the planet, and then send this information back to Earth for analysis. With these, mankind can be well prepared for a much larger journey to the planet, establishing a site for experiments, space launches, and many more. With time, we'd be able to send more people to Mars, slowly colonizing it until we've established a significant population there. We might be looking at having a Mars visa even. Elon Musk surely can bring these to reality, making man able to live on both Earth and Mars. However, there are quite a number of barriers he would have to break through if the Mars dream becomes real. For starters, SpaceX and its Starliner must be ready for dire occurrences, including the risk of crashing on Mars, as well as the need for in-orbit refueling of the Starship. The precision required for both of these? Well, SpaceX is working on it. For the crewed mission, there are the questions of radiation exposure, microgravity effects, life support requirements, and even solar flares. These could cause really severe, irreversible health issues to the humans that would land on Mars, a situation that would cause a public outcry on Earth. I don't even think humans are ready for Mars's dust storms. They could last weeks or months. In reality, we don't want to send humans to get roasted on the red planet. How about the funding constraints? NASA's provision of funds for these plans would skyrocket massively, hitting hundreds of billions. If Elon Musk uses his own money on this mission, he definitely would lose his place as the richest man on Earth. Basically, we'd need all the funding help we could get. These aren't the only hurdles we have to cross. The lack of infrastructure on Mars would leave the first humans scavenging for their lives, trying to find comfort in a place that we can't quite describe as home yet. There's also the problem of energy generation. We'd have to shunt solar panels and windmill materials to the red planet. We don't even know if there's any form of crude oil there. Truly, man has come a long way in its advancement and civilization. If we could cross these hurdles, we are set for life on Mars. Before that, though, NASA has a big mission for SpaceX. Before mankind would begin colonizing Mars, SpaceX has to answer a call from NASA. What's it about? Well, it's the Artemis program. Let me walk you through it. The Artemis program is NASA's first attempt at landing humans on the moon since the space race happened between the Soviet Union and the United States. Funny fact, the project is named after the Greek goddess of the moon, Artemis. Now, you might be surprised knowing that NASA hasn't ever landed a person on the moon, despite performing numerous launches into space. Well, now they aim to accomplish this with SpaceX's Starship, a reputable partnership if you ask me. In more details, the mission's main aim is to land the first woman and next man on the South Pole region of the moon within the mid-2020s. We don't exactly know why they chose the South Pole though. Anyway, the Artemis mission also aims at creating a decade-old significant population on the moon, a feat that would make man actually live on the moon, though for exploration and research. Yeah, you can't actually buy land or own residential houses on the moon. The Artemis program, if successful, would also be a primer for the Mars mission, allowing SpaceX to use the moon as the launch site to the red planets, as well as in fixing up the Starship mid-travel and refueling it between journeys. The program is divided into 4 parts: an uncrewed test flight, a crewed flight test on a lunar flyby, and then the first crewed landing on the moon, and then finally the establishment of exploration sites, the building of scientific and space travel infrastructures, and the formation of a sustainable human presence on the moon. These stages, described as Artemis 1 through 4, are already on the move. Artemis 1, which is the uncrewed flight test, was already performed between November and December of 2022 with NASA's Orion spacecraft. Artemis 2 is slated for November of 2024, again using the Orion spacecraft. Where does SpaceX's Starship come in then? Well, Artemis 3, the third and probably the most important stage of the Artemis program, would involve NASA astronauts aboard the Starship to the moon. Artemis 3 would actually involve both the Orion spacecraft and the Starship. The Orion would serve to deliver the crew to the Starship in space, which would already be pre-positioned and waiting for them in lunar orbit. Then the Starship will continue the journey, traveling to land safely on the moon. This would not be the only involvement of the Starship in the Artemis program. NASA have shaken hands with Elon Musk on the topic of using the Starship to further the Artemis program. Better said, the Starship would be used in the Artemis 1 stage and in many more stages of the Artemis program. The Starship definitely has a bright future ahead. If you aren't surprised by these, well, there's more coming up. The Artemis program and the Mars mission are only just the earliest stops in the Starship's journey. They aren't even up to half the trip. Both Elon and NASA have great plans for the Starship, making it the revolutionary spacecraft of modern time. Its versatility and reusability only makes the plans much easier to achieve, belittling the credibility of other spacecraft like the Orion vehicle, Boeing Starliner, and even Sierra Space's Dream Chaser. Enough talk, let's see some of these plans. Planned for 2025 and beyond, the Starship charter flights would involve suborbital and orbital tourism of space. Yes, SpaceX will bring space tourism to reality. These missions may include lunar flybys and journeys within near-Earth space, all conducted with the Starship. The Starship would also be used to launch multiple Starlink satellites of SpaceX into space. If successful, it would provide extremely fast and reliable internet around the world, cancelling the need for fiber optic cables and communication towers. A total of around 42,000 Starlink satellites are expected to be deployed altogether, and the launches have begun since 2019 via SpaceX's Falcon 9 spacecraft. As of September of 2024, over 5,000 satellites have been launched using the Falcon. The Starship would take over from the Falcon in the later part of 2024 and would be used to continue the deployment of these satellites. Hopefully by 2030 or 2040, the Starship would have hit the 42,000 mark. The Starship is planned to be used in the exploration of asteroids around Earth, as well as in mining valuable resources from these asteroids. These missions, fixed for the 2030s, would involve crewed and uncrewed flights to the asteroids for scientific purposes, including for extractions or in the destruction of large asteroids before they reach Earth. Apparently, SpaceX has built a planetary savior, the Starship. Let's call an end to it here. I believe SpaceX is preparing quite well for Starship's future missions, of course with so many beautiful stops. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Space Minds for the latest updates on our space news and adventures.